Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be watching my first ever Wes Anderson film. He is a very big director. He's somebody who is incredibly famous, and I feel like he has a lot of films that are like, oh my god, you need to watch this movie before you die, and oh my god, you need to watch this movie at some point in your lifetime. And I haven't gone around watching a single one of his movies yet, but I found out recently that the movie Fantastic Mr. Fox is on Disney Plus, and I decided, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and make some time for this. I'm gonna go ahead and sit down and watch it. So that being said, I'm going to go put it in. Like I said, it's on Disney Plus. I'm going to go watch it, and then I will be back with my full initial reaction.
What? Oh, it's Watch List Wednesday.
I'll add it to the list.
Okay, I'm back, and I'm not going to lie, I was a pretty big fan of that. I think that overall the style is absolutely fantastic. It is everything that I expected from a Wes Anderson movie, and I really enjoyed it. And I think that something in particular that I really enjoyed about it is I don't think I've ever actually watched anything that's stop motion animation. Like, I might be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure I have never seen anything like that. And so overall, I thought that it was very fascinating to watch. I think that it was really interesting, kind of seeing like some of the close-ups of the characters and stuff like that, and you can see some of the moments where like they're still and they're just like freeze framed on a specific character for like a long period of time. And I thought that the animation just overall was absolutely beautiful, and I really liked just overall the look of this movie. I think that something that Wes Anderson is very famous for is his use of colors, and the fact that he has a lot of eccentric designs, and his style is very unique to his filmmaking. And yeah, the visuals were fantastic. I think that overall this movie kind of felt like eye candy a little bit. It was very visually appealing, and it was great to look at. And then on top of that, the voice acting performances here all around were incredible. Something that I liked about this movie, it's a very quotable movie, which is like something that I'm finding out. A lot of quotes that I've heard in the last like 4 or 5 years in pop culture and TikTok audios and stuff like that have came from this movie, and I thought that was really interesting. I wasn't expecting that. I think that overall, though, like I said, voice acting fantastic. I think that George Clooney does an incredible job with Mr. Fantastic Fox. I think that overall you can just hear how like charming and like witty he is, and I think that that's something very interesting, is because like George Clooney is somebody who in a lot of movies just plays like that one really charismatic guy, and he kills it in this. I think that his voice acting is absolutely incredible, and overall I think that that can go and be said for pretty much the entire cast. I was really excited to see that Owen Wilson is in this movie. That made me really happy. Hearing him doing his little speech that he was doing, his little like pep talk, was great, and I liked just like his entire vibe of his character. We only saw him for like 30 seconds, but I got so excited. I was like, oh my god, one of my favorite voice actors of all time, one of my favorite actors of all time in general. He was great. Jason Schwartzman as Ash, the son of Mr. Fantastic Fox in this movie, really great stuff. I was very intrigued to see what they were going to do with his character, because it seemed like he was going to have a very depressing character arc, and I was really worried whenever they first started, like, people are going to the house and they're going to like dig up the tree and they're going to, you know, start like shooting up the house. I was really worried that Ash was going to die or something like that, because in my experience, animated movies that have a fox as one of the main characters, the fox tends to die. Anybody who hasn't seen The Fox and the Hound, I'm sorry, spoiler alert, that movie will emotionally wreck you. It is terrible. And because this is a very famous movie, I for some reason had like that stigmatism. I don't think I used that word correctly, but I kind of had that like thought in the back of my head this entire movie that like, oh my god, one of the main characters is going to die, and this is going to be terrible, and this is going to be depressing, and I can't watch. But that didn't happen at all. I think that overall Ash's character development was great. I think that all of the stuff with him and his cousin, who, I'm going to be honest, I'm blanking on his name right now. It's like Christopopoulos. That's not it. It's something that starts with a K. But overall, absolutely loved their character development. I feel like they did a really good job of showcasing jealousy in a character, and I think that the way that they have it very subtle at the beginning of the movie, where he's just like, he really doesn't want anything to do with it, and it's a lot of negative energy, and it kind of just seems like he's very like selfish and self-centered, and then you can kind of learn that it's because he feels like his parents don't really love him and appreciate him enough. And I think that overall this movie had a lot of very great heart-to-heart moments that I wasn't expecting. One of the main ones, the first moment at the beginning of the film where the I don't remember her name. I think it's like Felicity, Mr. Fox's fiance, wife, whatever, tells him that she's pregnant. That was a very beautiful moment, the way that they both kind of like freeze, and then they do like the freeze frames where they like show their faces as they stare at each other, and then they like slowly smile. very beautiful stuff. I loved all of the heart-to-heart moments in this movie because the way that they just showed close-ups on people's faces and allowed us to just like admire their emotions and admire the like things that they're feeling and the way that they're reacting to specific things was really well done. I thought that was great. There were a couple of moments where they showed like Kylie and like his eyes were a specific way and you couldn't really see, like you can tell he had no thoughts behind his eyes. That was awesome. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a fantastic touch. And overall, I just think that a lot of the characterization in here was fantastic, like genuinely really well done. I think that the two cousins over the length of the movie, slowly going from like hating each other's guts to being best friends, kind of felt very similar to the first ever Toy Story movie with Woody and Buzz. And I low-key really liked that. Like I thought that that was like a very great parallel. And as somebody who is not a huge fan of Toy Story, I will argue that they did it better in this movie. I really enjoyed that. I thought that the humor in this movie was also fantastic. I think that it was another one of those things where it's a little more subtle, and I think that the visuals really help play into the comedy a lot. Like there's a lot of moments where like if the timing isn't as excellent as it is, the humor just doesn't work. Like there's a couple of moments where like one of the farmer guys is like going on a giant rampage and he's throwing a giant tantrum, and he's just like, it kind of like comically goes on for too long and it just keeps going and going and going, and it's so funny because everybody else is just kind of like staring at him and having no blank reaction, you know, and he's just destroying everything because he can, and he's a giant man child. But that was fantastic. One of the last things I want to touch on, the score, sound design, all of that was absolutely incredible. I think that they had a really good job of building up the scenes that were going to be potentially really emotional, and then building up the epic moments where they're like riding through a motorcycle and they're jumping onto like a ramp over and out of the city. That was really cool. I really enjoyed that. One of the original scenes where they're breaking and entering into the, I believe it's the apple cider place, and then like the wife walks downstairs or whatever and she's in the basement. It's like really, really intense music, and she's like whatever, and then like she walks away and it goes dead silent and everybody's just like, oh thank God, and then the door opens again and then it just starts and it was just, oh my God, excellent use of music, absolutely fantastic use of music. The style was great, the score was great, the animation was great, the voice acting was great. I loved everything about this movie. I thought it was fantastic. I could definitely see myself watching it again and probably watching it a couple more times to fully appreciate the artwork here, because I think that that's something that is really like special about this film compared to like a lot of films that exist nowadays. I think that this is one of those few films where it's like you can genuinely say like there hasn't been a movie like this out in the last like 10-15 years. I could be wrong. I think there's a movie called Isle of Dogs which is similar, and that might have came out in 2017 or 2019 or something like that. I haven't seen it. I will potentially watch that movie at some point, but overall I just really like this movie. I think that it definitely is turning me on to Wes Anderson. I think that I'm definitely going to go check out a couple more of his movies. Recently actually I bought, I don't think it's by me or I would show you, but I recently bought I believe it's called Grand Budapest Hotel or something like that, which I believe is one of his most iconic movies. So at some point I'm going to be watching that for a video on this channel. But that being said, I think that I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a final rating. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I think that it is my favorite stop motion animated movie I've ever seen. I'm going to let that simmer for a second. I also mentioned that this is the only stop motion animation movie I've ever seen. But that being said, really big fan. I liked it. I thought it was a whole lot of fun. Very beautiful, very visually stunning, very comedic. But yeah, overall, I'm going to give this movie a solid 93 out of 100. I think that it's a pretty well-written film. I think that something that I particularly like about this movie, and like some of the older movies that I kind of really miss, this movie was not afraid to be like just an hour and 20 minutes. Like something about films nowadays, I feel like we had like Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, Avatar 3, or it's Avatar 2, isn't it? Avatar Way of Water, whatever. We had all of those movies back to back make $1 billion, and all of them were 3 hours long. And I feel like a lot of movie studios were like, oh my God, that's the key. We have to have a movie that's 3 hours long. And it's exhausting, some of the movies nowadays. Whereas this one, I threw it on. Just had to set aside like an hour and a half, and I just got to watch a very fun, colorful movie that had a lot of really great characters and a lot of really great humor. And overall, I just thought it was really good. I will admit, while I'm talking about it, before I wrap up this video, the humor, one of my favorite things about this is that they use the word cuss to kind of like substitute almost every single curse word in this movie, and I thought that that was absolutely hilarious, and the way that they used it in this movie is fantastic. And then one of the jokes that absolutely killed me was towards the end of the movie, they're like in a very serious moment. They're in the middle of a heist. They're probably in danger, and they have to really quickly pick a lock. And Mr. Fantastic Fox is just like, quick, do any of you guys have a credit card? And then Kylie, what is Kylie? Is it like a mole? Are they like a mole or possum? I think they said opossum. I think that's it. But they're like, hey, do any of you guys have a credit card? And then he pulls it out, and they go to pick the lock or whatever, and he looks at it. He's like, a titanium credit card? How can you get approved for a titanium credit card? And they just like threw in a little like credit score joke in it, and it's like, that's so mature for something that a lot of people probably were like, oh my god, it's a kids movie. But I loved that. I thought that was fantastic. But yeah. That being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much watching. And if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe. And I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow.
Back at it again, but that's irrelevant. Flow so smooth, they calling me Mr. Elegant. Like an elephant, I got a long nose. Like a president, I've got a few hoes. Swift with a stutter, I'm smooth like butter. Don't see it coming when I slip undercover. Like a big dog, but I don't bite. I'm still a big broad, I'd win that fight. Come match you and I knock out your lights.